Welcome to the final episode of Factory Friday featuring Stack Metallurgical Services. Here at Stack, they perform the majority of the heat treats for all our blades at Benchmade Knife Company. We're going to get into the science of it here this week, and we're going to dive into it and get you educated on why heat treating is so important. So we'll talk to some professionals, get you some science, and see what happens here at Stack.
So steel, by its most basic definition, is iron with about up to 2% carbon added to it. But actually, steel's a lot more than that. The discovery and use of steel has marked a dramatic shift in human history, and it's often referred to as the Iron Age because of the impact it has had. Heat treating is a thermal process that is used to change the mechanical properties of steel. By heating up the material, you can change its atomic structure. Then after you have it up at an elevated temperature, you then do a rapid quench down to room temperature. That locks in that high temperature structure, creates stress, and changes the mechanical properties of the steel.
Benchmade has been partnered with Stack Industries since the beginning of Benchmade as a company. The heat treating process, the first step you have is the osmotizing step. That's done in a large vacuum furnace. The blades are heated up to high temperature to get the carbon and other alloying elements to dissolve into the steel. After they've soaked at that temperature for a period of time, the parts are then quenched with a positive pressure of nitrogen to get them back down to room temperature. Then they are pulled out of the vacuum furnace. After that step, we go through a continuation of the quench where the parts are put into a freezer above a liquid nitrogen bath, and that cools them down to negative 100 degrees. They are soaked at that temperature to complete the phase transformation. Then they are pulled out of that freezer and then taken to the tempering ovens. The tempering ovens is a process where the blades are heated to about 500 degrees Fahrenheit. They're held at that temperature to help relieve some of the stress that was created from the heat treating process and to make the blades a little bit more tougher and less brittle. 1095 is heat treated in an atmosphere furnace with a integral quench. The parts are loaded into the furnace that contains a hydrogen-nitrogen mix to keep the parts clean at the high temperatures. When the parts have soaked at the temperature for long enough, a bottom opens up in the furnace and the parts are dropped into an oil bath to quench them back down to room temperature. After that quench, they are then taken to the tempering ovens and have a tempering process done on them. Processing time takes between 1 and 4 days from the time we send our blades out to Stack to the time they return them back to us.